We're going to go ahead. Recording in progress.
Sorry,
Thank you,
didn't
Rick.
want to miss that.
Appreciate that. Terry will appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Turn out my alarm now.
good. We're going to jump right in. So for the record, Stephen Welch, Chair of the Capital Program Committee. I'd like to confirm access as I see all. Richard Hussey.
Here.
Peter Kaiser.
Here.
Jason Bridges.
Here.
Christy Ferrantella.
Here.
Christy Kickham.
Here.
And Jill Veith.
Here.
Excellent. And Rick, you can hear
Here.
us?
Yep.
Stephen and David?
Here. Present.
Hey, David. It's been a while.
Good morning. Yes, nice to see you.
You too. And Graham, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, how are you?
Excellent, thanks. So this morning, we'll call this meeting of the Capital Program Committee to order. It is Thursday, November 18th, around 10 a.m. And if I could get a motion, you know what, I got to read Charlie Baker's thing. This open meeting of the Capital Program Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Our meeting is convened via Zoom with video and audio recording. There's a good chance that if will be broadcast on the town's YouTube channel. Note that anything presented on Zoom may be captured by recording and broadcast to the public. The town's website identifies how the public may join. With no member of the public present, correct, there will be no public comment. During the meeting, I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called and direct comments through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make taking of minutes easier. Any votes taken will be conducted via roll call. With that said, could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Richard?
Aye.
On your motion, thank you. Peter?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Christy F?
Aye.
Christy K?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So with no further ado, we will jump in. We have DPW Facilities, Transportation General, and the Solid Waste Facility to review FY23 requests and touch on out years this morning. And we will start with Graham.
Thank you. We are requesting 8 new sets of big bellies. So this is both replacement and then there's a couple new sets. And big bellies are waste compacting trash receptacles. Essentially, they're solar powered and they're smart. So when they are getting close to full, we'll get notifications and we can always check in as well their current status of how full they are. They will be going out at park and field facilities, specifically Nobodere Field, Delta Field, Winter Park, Coffin Park, Mill Hill, and the skate park. So the skate park is the new location for them. There are big bellies existing at the other locations. So this is going to save, very precious staff time. The trash crew barely gets their run done, especially in the summer. And being able to eliminate these locations, which are year-round sites, will save significant time and associated resources. And they fill, these locations fill sporadically and erratically, which makes them prime sites for this smart technology. We're replacing them because there's about a 6.
Yeah.
Christy,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Graham. Chris, at first I thought it might have been background for you. Christy, please mute. Christy Kickham, sorry.
We're replacing them at the existing ones because they've reached their lifespan, which is about 6 to 10 years. And they don't currently communicate. The sensors and the compacting parts have failed. So as compactors, they can take about 3 times as much trash as our other receptacles around the island. So that's another plus of these. Are there any questions?
Graham, do you have any, it'll probably pay for itself in labor in a couple of years. Do you have a number in your head, like 3 years or 5 or?
I don't. I mean, you can imagine how just going off to Essex, to Winter Park down Essex in the summer, that's a big leg off at what they usually have to do. And that can take 30 minutes, 40 minutes just to go to Winter Park alone. So that gives you maybe a bit of an idea of the time associated with just one of those locations.
Thanks. Anyone else with a question or comment? Richard, and then Peter.
This is for 8 units, is that correct?
Correct. So they are full sets of 4. So just like you see at other location, at all the locations around town for municipal receptacles, they're in groups of 4 for all 4 waste streams. 3 are compactors, and the one for glass is not a compactor for obvious reasons.
Okay, Peter?
Gotcha. I actually had the same question. So we're getting 2 sets, which is 4 receptacles, but they stay in a unit, so to speak. They stay in a 4 receptacle unit.
So it's 8 sets of 4
8
units.
sets. Gotcha. Okay. Understood. Gotcha. So 8 sets. So 8 locations. Whatever. 32 different receptacles, but for the 4 different waste streams. Gotcha. Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Any others? Graham, I have one. Just what's the service required for these types of things? Is it something that can be done with our own staff? The service interval, and is it the type of thing that can be done with our own staff? The communication portion through IT, or is there a service contract that we'll be securing? Things along those lines. Could you speak to?
Sure. So the first several years, the service is built into the cost that you see in front of you. And it's something our staff can do. And because they are smart, when there are issues with them, we can dial directly into the Big Belly service department, and they can, excuse me, they can diagnose what's going on and prescribe a fix. And then going forward, most of the things we've been able to maintain when we have staff time actually going out there, spending times and maintaining the Big Bellies. But one of the issues is that we haven't had staff doing that over the years, plus their end of life. So I did have a Big Belly service person come out and take a look at the existing ones. And he said, they're 10 years old. Most of them last 6 years is what they expect, 6 to 8 years. So he's like, we can try to get some fixes for these current ones, but really they're not going to last long.
Okay. And then a follow-up on that is, are we anticipating that, I guess what I would suggest from the capital program side is if you all are anticipating more of these being utilized, that we would program them into the out years and regardless program in the service life so that we are looking at replacing them in the 6 to 8 years too. Thank you. Oh, and last comment, I just can't resist with the Big Belly comment. I just couldn't help but think about Thanksgiving coming up.
There we
Thanks.
go. Thank you.
Okay, and then let's see, go to Stephen.
Okay, I'd like to, Dave is wearing 5 hats instead of 1 right now. If we could go through, if you don't mind, if we can go through the fleet vehicles so I can get him, so he can give you a summation of everything and then he can move on, then I can stay for the rest. Is that okay?
No, that's fine. And if Rick, I've got to
It's
zoom.
fine. Yeah. That's
Yeah, they're there. Okay, great. Go ahead, David.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to give you a summation of what we're looking for in fleet. And we have 5 vehicles listed and some equipment. Starting off with, we have a really aging fleet of Rangers that are used throughout facilities, Dpw, admin and personnel, and most of those were hand-me-downs to us from other departments, and we've used them to their total life expectancy. The ones that are looking to be replaced are just units that the frames are rotted, and that they just it's done for them. So they've been taken off the road recently because of not passing inspections, and we're looking to replace those items. So it's 2 Ford Rangers. And then we're moving on to a F-350 service truck, which, as our crew, our operations crew, totally rely on these vehicles for getting their jobs done. The one that's looking to be replaced is a 16-year-old truck with the same problem with frame rot. We move on from that to an F-350 dump truck. We have one that's 17 years old. We need to replace. Same issue, frame rot. These trucks don't ever live indoors, so and they're all used on the sanding and plowing fleet. So that shortens their life expectancy even more so the regular set. You know, these are 10-year vehicles in normal. Then you put them into a sand and salting environment, it really shortens them up, giving us a good service for the length we've had them. We move on from those vehicles to improving some of our brush cutting apparatuses. We have a skid steer now that was newly purchased 2 years ago. And I think because of financial restraints on it, it wasn't ordered for the full package of forestry usage. So we want to send that back to Caterpillar, have the forestry package installed, which is all the protective guides and containment for when it's brush cutting. It doesn't allow all that debris to get inside the engine compartment, and it protects the cab, the operator, and a different type of brush cutting apparatus for it, which is called a flailing mower. It's different from our rotary mowers, and that allows us to do some tree trimming with it, aside from just brush cutting like on a horizontal plane. This allows us to do stuff in a vertical application. We have an old 13-year-old tractor that we use on the fields. That's a Kubota. It's a 10-year service life. It's past that, and it just gets to the point when these units go out to work, they're breaking down on such a common situation that for every 8 hours it works, you got to spend 2 hours working on them. And at a certain point, it's just spending bad money on them. They just they're at the end of their lives. And then we have an asphalt roller. It's a tandem roller. We have one here that we stopped using 2 years ago, and I can't actually find the age of it. Nick Dutra's the oldest guy here, and he said it was here before he got here. So it's at least 30 years old, and I can't acquire parts for it anymore. And this small roller is used when we do our patching, pothole patching, and if we do any work around the bike path patching. It's different than our large roller for regular road work, and we're looking for a replacement than that with a trailer that's dedicated just to that. So it stays on it, and when we're ready to go, it goes to work, and we can store it in try to store that in one of our older buildings. I have two items which did not make this list, and I know this might be hard to slide in later, but it's just because of supply chain and trying to get prices from suppliers. They're actually reluctant to provide quotes because it's so hard to acquire some of these things. One of those items is another Ford truck to replace the service truck that the shop had, which we haven't had a true service truck since sewer and DPW separated. The truck was given to the sewer department, and then they actually in turn upgraded that. It was an older truck, but we don't have a full-fledged mechanics truck. I believe my predecessor, the fleet manager, had put in one for pricing last year. I think it wasn't approved, certainly, and I'm going to resubmit that. I'm just having trouble getting full quotes on it, and it's going to be substantially lower than the request last year. And I didn't want to throw a number at it, and I had some concrete pricing. And one other item that I haven't been able to get full pricing yet on is a mini street sweeper. It's very similar to our full-fledged size sweeper. It's just like a mini me. It's much scaled down, and its design is to sweep sidewalks and bike paths. The ideal on our bike paths, the way we do it now is we broom on a skid steer, and it we debris off the side of the path. It doesn't have the capacity to pick it up and store it like a sweeper does, and then which would be dumped into a truck and trucked away. So a bike path that has a lot of sand or a heavy area We're just pushing it off to the side, and then a heavy rain will put it back in place. So we're looking to prevent that from happening. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, David. Jason actually had his hand up, so let him go and then follow from there.
I know I laid that out quite a bit and didn't give much break in between, but I hope you guys were following.
Yeah, I thank you, Mr. Chair. I got just confused on the skid steer loader and then the accessories, because I thought you said you bought one 2 years ago, but you need to send it back to get accessories on it. So are we buying a new? I just.
No, it's that is skid steer that was purchased, and it does many functions, but as far as using it in the brush cutting applications, Caterpillar has what they call a forestry package. So it has a grill and grate installed around the operator's cab. It has all these protective guards that encase the turbo and other the pump, because very hardened. And when you're doing a brush cutting application, you get all this fine chip, and as you can imagine, fine chip and all this wood dust can get into the system, and then it creates a fire hazard. This package prevents that. If you were going to use a skid steer in that application, you would typically get it installed from Caterpillar at the beginning. I don't know why we didn't get it that way, because that's what the primary use for buying this skid steer was.
I can make this easier. I can make it easier for you. So you don't have to. So why do we have to buy a new one if we already have one? Can we just
not a new skid steer?
No, there's one up here. That's what we're referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, see, I don't have that. I apologize. I missed that in my description. That's another skid steer, and I again I apologize.
David, that's the 18-year-old skid steer.
Over that.
The one you're
That's
talking.
the 18-year-old, and that is a much smaller skid steer than the one I'm talking about with the 4-pack. That skid steer is used for working in tight areas, and we used to put the sickle bar on it, and it's not capable of supporting that anymore. We have a sickle bar for it, but because of its age and its ability to keep for any length of time, it's one of those units that it goes out, it comes back by the end of the day broken. That's a separate skid steer, and that's tire mounted instead of track mounted, so it can go down the bike path. So there is two. No, there's one. That is the skid steer we want to replace. The other unit I'm talking about, the forestry package, is something that gets added on to the current skid steer we have.
Right. So what I'm going to I want to jump in here real quick.
They all do different.
Hold on, David, please. I think what I'm going to suggest, Rick, through something maybe you can pick up and work with David. Let's just put the case model number on the respective ones for future use and for tracking and so on and so forth. It will be clear that one is a CS such and such and one is a CS such and such, and it'll help to clarify that they're separate skid steers.
Yes.
And then that way, and then just to re-summarize, and David, correct me if I have it wrong, what you're requesting are attachments for an existing skid steer and replacement of a completely separate skid steer.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to double check. So now we're going to move to Christy Kickham.
David, could you let me know, I just want to go back really quickly to the forest package. I understand you're getting parts for this to do some brush cutting and all the jazz. Could you tell me what exactly you're getting for the 50,000? You mentioned some sort of bushing, so dust doesn't get in, but what else are you getting for this?
So it also the
David, you're breaking up.
so
I don't know
roughly
if you
that's
know that.
I could try signing into a different.
I'm in Steve's office.
Yeah, you're breaking up
Yeah.
pretty dramatically at this point.
I'm gonna do it from this angle.
Okay. We're switching computers.
Okay. We'll wait.
Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing,
Yes.
I'm not, oh, sorry, Stephen Welch. and maybe for Rick too, looking for supplemental documents for all these. I mean, I'm sure the quotes are based on, or the price tags are based on quotes, but just, I don't see anything in there, and that might help answer some of these questions too. So just maybe something that we emphasize going forward.
Yeah, so happy to, Stephen, can I?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so due to shortage of staff in DPW, and David LaFleur spending most of his, being the only mechanic we have. Poor David has been burning the midnight oil and has only just gotten this list to us, which is why you probably haven't seen it in any of your Capcom Rory reviews. Only just got this information in full about 2 days ago, and in each one of the capital requests, I've noted that these are just preliminary estimates at this point in time, and there's a formal quote needs to come, and with the formal quote comes the supplementary information. So I apologize. This is a function of where we are with DPW and Rob's departure and inability to hire staff to do things that these guys are stepping into the breach for.
Okay, thanks. And we will get some clarification in the headings. Rick, I think the case comes in like an alpha series and a B series, and we can just throw some type of an indicator on those. I'm not suggesting we get into granularity of fleet management, but if there's 10 Ford Rangers, tracking them by a single or double digit number wouldn't be a bad thing for us when we're looking at this, to know that, next year there's 2 more Ford Rangers, but they're numbers 7 and 10 versus the 2 that were this year. Anyways, I think we're good to go unless there's other questions on the vehicles. And we can talk about these some more. I think I have a pretty good understanding on them, and we can follow up after our group discussion if there's further questions. Richard, and then Christy Kickham.
I understand it's David and Stephen's first time through this procedure, but I'm just wondering if the priority ranking is what they want, or should they look at that as well? Everything medium to low.
So sorry. So let me just say, Stephen and David did not put the mediums and lows on there. I actually did that. So if and I put the mini sweeper as low only because it just literally came in at the last minute yesterday, and the forestry package could easily be medium. I just didn't know how to rate it. So again,
I was just suggesting that maybe they want to look at that. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate the input on that. So no other questions on vehicles, fleet stuff at this time? Okay, great. So Stephen, we're going to go to the top of the list for you, which I believe is the Parks and Recs master plan. And that's just to intro that has been changed to primarily soft costs and geared towards coordinating with coastal resiliency. Is that where you want to start with that?
Parks and I have.
Yeah.
I jumped down. Did I jump down?
Yeah, what do you see?
I was still in. I apologize. I was still in Public Works. Stephen, go ahead and start where you plan on starting.
Okay, no worries. I'm at the Public Works campus-wide improvements. I know we're basically, because of the changes that we've experienced in the last few months, we're going to be tabling that for fiscal year 23 and moving that forward to fiscal year 24 and 25. We need to basically make sure we have a director on hand, regroup and reassess, and then move forward with that. Are there any questions about the campus-wide improvements? Okay. The next section I have is Dpw Transportation. We have the Sidewalk Improvement Plan. This is a regular increasing budget about 3% per fiscal year. And we need time to do a better assessment of that. But as of right now, we will make that budget work at the 1,100,000. We have a number of sidewalks that need to be repaired. We do not have a list fabricated as of yet. We don't have a list on a prioritized list for sidewalks, roads, and a number of different things that we've been tasked with through discussions with the town manager and other directors. We're going to be getting that together. But I don't think it's something that's contested, that we have a number of sidewalks that need to be addressed in and out of town. The road improvements and maintenance on Island, we have it 2 million. That will take care of some of severe issues that we have. Wait, I'm sorry, someone's speaking. Okay, that will take care of improvements that we have that do not fall under contracts. We have with the island's environment, we have potholes that turn into sinkholes that turn into worse. So we need to have those monies set aside to make sure that we can do the proper improvements, whether they're done by us, the DPW themselves, or by someone contracted such as Robert B. Hour or Victor. So that is been set aside. And just a caveat, many of these things will be, many of our programs will be, are being greatly scrutinized as we speak. We're doing an audit of every single system that we have in process and how the monies are being used. So I kind of stating this because in fiscal year 24, we may have some deviations there. It may seem like a significant change, but we will have the list, the prioritized list, and the reasoning behind it if we're having significant changes in the future.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm actually going to stop you there just
Yes.
to see if we can see if there's any questions or comments at this point on those two.
Oh, please.
Christy Kickham.
Yeah, Stephen, I was just going to mention with some of these, just kind of coming from how we look at it, so these, especially like sidewalk and road improvements, things that are phased each year and funded each year. We do look at, the productivity of a year to year, meaning if nothing was done in a year, that we like to, it might have relevance on the following year's funding. There was a year I think we had where we had approved it and none of the funds were used just because of staffing or subcontractors. And so just to make you aware of, that is something that we do look at, that there is, that the funds are used each year and that the process works well.
No, thank you for that. The past year, manning has been a substantial issue, and even the year before then. I think that since I've signed on since 2018, our attrition rate has been horrendous, and we've been in basically in triage mode even before the significant changes we've had this past few months. So we're experiencing a surge in interest in the DPW. We're experiencing more and more people applying. We're experiencing more support and also deeper talks and more detailed talks with finance and our fellow agencies so that we are properly utilizing the funds. So we'll have contractors on hand. We'll continue to renew those contracts to make sure significant work gets done. And with our increased manning, with new opportunities coming at DPW, preventive measures for road improvements and maintenance, such as addressing potholes immediately instead of within months, that will you'll start to see a turnaround there. And we'll be definitely utilizing every dollar allocated for fiscal year 23, and then we'll be doing an assessment afterwards. And hopefully we can make you proud and show and have more detail instead of the ambiguity that we've had.
Thanks, Stephen. Just to follow up on that, I think I'd like to clarify that what we typically do, Stephen, is if it's odd to be talking to someone else named Stephen and be saying Stephen. So I'll get that out of the way first. If there's a holdover fund due to the fact, whatever the reason is, it's not our critical analysis is not along the lines of a punitive. It's about, are there funds existing that were previously approved, and will those funds and the current ask actually be expended in the upcoming fiscal year? So I think that that is one of the aspects I'd be looking at, is what's the reasonable contemplation that for the sidewalk improvement plan and for the road improvements that will actually spend that money in the coming fiscal year. And it's, I think, more in focus because we all understand that there have been some challenges through public Department of DPW and Public Works accomplishing some of the goals. And that's not on anyone in particular. It's just,
No.
is there funds there? Are we gonna need these funds? Is the general gist of those questions. The other thing is I'm a little, I'm unfamiliar. Well, I am familiar with the pavement management plan, and that lays out a pretty detailed list of the condition of the roadways, and in order to contemplate and extrapolate maintenance schedules and replacement schedules. So that, I think, is something that we would like to be able to rely on, and we'd like to be able to tie a current year request, not suggesting for this particular year, but going forward, we'd like to have a plan for the pavement based upon accepted science methodologies, and then go ahead and try and track that against what the actual request of the then current fiscal year is. So if your pavement management plan lists A through D are in the management plan, and if there's a deviation, you let us know. And part of the reason for that is what we're hoping to do eventually is get to an exceptions-based review process. So every department has a plan, various sub-plans. If there's a deviation, we review that. Otherwise, we don't have to get into a great level of review on every single topic, every single request. At least that's my hope. So there's a lot there. You don't need to respond to it. And you can take the pavement management plan comments and directly translate them to the sidewalk improvement plan and the past schedules that were developed. Obviously, you all through town admin and finance are going to be reworking those. But as Christy said, we would like to have some level of accountability with respect to the expenditures from year to year.
Definitely. No, thank you for that. I'll reduce the qualitative and focus on the actual numbers.
Okay.
No, thank you for the context. So with that,
I'm sorry, Stephen, 1 second. Rick, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I think it's probably worth saying. So we're meeting weekly as it stands, a small group of us with Stephen around sort of trying to identify both what the existing work is that we're doing, to Christie's point. Are you going to use the money that you previously allocated? And also working towards incorporating or getting to a point where we can articulate what will go on with the roads based on the pavement management plan. We started with bike paths, and actually we've gotten a decent way down the road with the bike paths and what we're trying to prioritize for 24, or for 23. So it's unfortunately a bit of a iterative process, and it's almost a start from scratch process. And so I just wanted to flag that Libby had put this in place so that we can get a handle on everything we're doing and everything we're planning to do. But it's, in conjunction with the daily responsibilities, it's a bit of it's not a 1 week task, let's put it that way. So.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Information well taken. Any other questions on this before we move forward? Peter?
Just curious, how often do we update these plans? Is it like every 5 years, something like that? Obviously, it's not annually. That'd probably be not a good use of money, but anybody, I don't know if Steven knows, because he probably wasn't, as involved when they were commissioned, and it looks like 2017 or 18, but.
we have a number of plans in place, but those plans are recommendations from the contractors. We haven't internalized them and set them to a 1 to 10 year prioritized list of what we want done. based on their assessments. So we have some discussions still on bike paths, on roads, stormwater, a number of different systems within the department. But yet ideally, we want to get to the point where we have a 5-year outlook on every single service that we have.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, more so just pertaining directly to the road maintenance and the sidewalk improvement plans. I was just looking at the supplemental documents and, noticed that like the sidewalk improvement plan had phase 1 in 2017, phase 2 in 2018. So didn't know if there was, an every 5-year kind of touch up on it or anything like that, but.
Well, we are looking at that as well. We were including Chuck Larson and a number of other people, Andrew, can't think of Andrew's last name right now.
Vorst. Yep.
Yeah, and it's so that because we understand we can't do this in a vacuum. We have to work this in conjunction with the strategic plan of the town and come up with something that will be in concert with other contracts that we have. For instance, there's a big move to redo our water and stormwater and sewer. So that's one reason why I haven't just taken the pavement management plan and just prioritize it based on the criticality of it, because some of those roads will be included in other projects. So that's something we have to coordinate.
Right. Good point. Thanks for those for that clarity. Well, only other thing I noticed on the road improvements plans, it looks like it called for annual program adjusted for 3% inflation, but it looks like the year-to-year increase in cost is about 20% starting from 2023 to 24. So just something to maybe look into, either clarifying how much the annual adjustment is or making that reflect the 3% adjustment.
Now, that's something that we will be including. We can do estimates based on the cost of work in the last 3 years. And we'll be working with Rick and with Brian on being able to show our work, so to speak, to show why we're estimating this. Instead of having a generalized 3%, 5%, 20% increase, we'll be able to show our expectations as to what we predict will be charged and what will cost, and move forward there for fiscal year 24 and 25.
Yeah, I mean, I'd assume that 3% is probably under pitching it, and I mean 20% might be over pitching it, but just to give everybody an idea of what the out years might be in a more accurate case. But thanks.
Rick, did you have a follow-up?
I was just going to say it's a legacy loose comment on the 3%. Before Rob left, we did the step change to reflect the increasing price of all road work, as well as just the increasing demand as a result of increased usage carrying of the island. So I will fix that. Thank you for pointing it out.
No, so that's probably the easy answer. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. What we're going to do now, Stephen, is we're going to skip the out year at this point. I think without a transportation planner to speak to, which is traditionally where we would go with these, the Intermodal Transportation Center, Old South Road reconstruction, Old South Road Amelia Drive intersection, and permanent traffic data collection. Those you have in FY24. And then there's a couple further down, which we'll get to when we get to them. The only comment I think I would make, and if anyone else wants to make a broad comment on those, is some concern that if there are any, it will be very difficult to identify whether there are sunk costs, which is to say expenses that we will not salvage or benefit from because we're not moving forward on those projects. I don't know if that may relate to grant funding or anything else. I believe we do have work, at least in soft costs, that was developed. So it's just to put it out there that that's a concern from a programmatic review standpoint.
Yeah.
It's not an action item. There's no one to do the action. We don't have the transportation planner.
We desperately need that to help coordinate. It would help us with our road plans and how we maintain the roads. But without the transportation officer to coordinate with, we'll have to see what other options we may have if we can't fill that.
Right. So the short way of saying that is they're shelved, but I just have some concern. Our expenditures we've made going to be lost as a result. Hopefully not. But it is what it is. So on the multi-use path and then cobblestone improvements, Stephen.
Yeah, multi-use path and cobblestones. I think we're good on both. Cobblestones, I'm sure, are debatable, but being able to access the troubled areas we still have on Main, Federal, and some other locations within town. I think 250,000 is appropriate for. I'm sorry, no, the 525 is appropriate for now. We have we're debating right now what areas we need to put forward as priority. Federal has been brought to my attention several times over, and there's several areas on Main Street that people are still requesting to be addressed, and we have to coordinate that. The multi-use path, we have an assessment done through Beta, and we've gotten most of it. We've gotten some work done this fiscal year with crack seal and fog to prevent any further damage along some of our multi-use paths, bike paths that are in good condition. The next step is going to be some basic. It's a 4-phase process, but there will be some minor work being done, and the 250,000 is appropriate for that amount. We'll be able to patch up some broken asphalt on those paths and to prevent further erosion of the path. Later on, we may be asking for more funds, as you can see in fiscal year 24, because towards the end of the whole project, we're going to be looking at major reconstruction or even additional or connecting the bike path at different locations. So we'll have that in order as well. You may have the beta report already. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
No, they don't. It's not in the capital budget.
Okay.
Okay. And then the milestone bike path extension.
Let's see, milestone bike path extension, Monomoy to Pulpits. We are going through that right now. We're going through it with Plus Town Admin, prioritizing how to make this approach and what adjustments need to happen. But that is moving forward. Is to make sure that we have I can't think of the word right now, but fluidity along that area so that there isn't as much of a need for road crossing. But we have connectivity going across that path. There's some discussion as to the removal of trees and whatnot, but we will be moving forward in fiscal year 23. We have everything in order, I believe.
Okay.
Do we have any questions or concerns with the bike path on Milestone? Okay. Washington Francis Union. We have some improvements that we will like to make in the meantime, but we can't do a major work with that until we have we come to a consensus on what we need to do at that location. There's some debate as to how to move forward, but right now that money will be allocated for some cosmetic work and some improvements on the turn radius there, but we don't have it. We don't have the plans yet to do a full redo of the drainage and the banking, the grade of the road. We're still in the planning phase for that.
Hold 1 second, please, Stephen. Rick, go ahead.
I just wanted to flag to the committee that you may have, if you have done your RORIs on this one in particular, you probably rated it when it was in for $1.6 million in FY23. The town manager moved. So there is that Washington Francis Street plan that the select board reviewed maybe 9 months ago. That can't be executed now because of the coastal resiliency plan, but they need to soften the curve. and do some repaving. So that's what the $500,000 is. And then the town manager moved the 1.6 million out to 25. And we added a premium for, increasing costs. So just flagging in case you had already done the Rory's, this one has changed.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. No, that's all helpful information. Thanks for baselining it, Steve. So unless there's any questions on decommissioning the fire cisterns, that was before us in the past, or there's an exception to the prior request, I would suggest we go right to the Pleasant Street repaving and the Silver access, improving the Silver Street access.
Yes, that is, we've done an assessment, walk that, it is deeply eroded. I don't think anyone will contest that or protest it. Silver to Main, we need to work it from sidewalk to road to sidewalk. So that's what that money is set aside for. Is a particular section between Silver and Main. And it's sort of its own system where we can't do sidewalks and then eventually get to the road, or do the road and then sidewalks. We need to do it all at one job. That way it'll help with the stability, and that section will be able to maintain and keep its connections from eroding any further as well. So I think that everyone will be very happy with the results of that project there. Do we have any questions for the Pleasant Street repaving?
No, I think, Rick, what I'm going to suggest, thanks, Stephen. I think what I'm going to suggest is we clarify that that's Silver Street from Pleasant to Main in our description. No big deal, but I think it'll just be easier for people to absorb it while they're in a one bullet review. And then I think the other thing I would suggest, and I think you're probably doing this, Rick, but just to have said, is any of these larger ticket items like the sidewalks, the road maintenance management, the Pleasant Street or the Silver Street, just to do one pass through once you all finish your review with DPW and planning review that Stephen and you have mentioned, to make sure that those are expenditures that would be for the FY23. Just so we would know that acknowledged in the affirmative. No big deal, but I would like to have that at some point.
So sorry, you're asking me, is the Pleasant Street repaving actually planned for FY23?
Well, yeah, that and the others, because it seems like there's still planning going on and there's still moving parts and pieces with respect to personnel and things that are outside of our purview. So once you all have an opportunity to solidify a plan, I'm sure you would do it, but for the sake of Capcom, I'll ask to make sure that those get updated so we know that they're likely going to be projects for FY23.
And Stephen, just for, okay, I'll confer, but I am definitely aware that we have some work that has to be done between Silver and Main along Pleasant Street. So that's something I'll have to be checking out. I'm not aware of any projects that we have that'll be on Silver Street itself.
Okay, so I need to please get
I'll get clarification for you, because that's, yeah, I may be on a different sheet of music, but we're definitely looking at that area on Pleasant Street itself.
So you're looking at a Pleasant Street from Silver Street to Main Street.
Yes.
Okay, I misinterpreted in the project summary. And so I'll retract my prior comment. Thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, no worries. But I am aware that it may be something I'm not. That
No. I'm glad you mentioned it. It's point well taken. All right. Any other questions or comments for Stephen at this time? No. Okay. Stephen, we appreciate the work you're doing, and we understand it's a challenging time, and we appreciate the time taken away to bring these in front of us. So with that, we will. Oh, Rick.
Stephen, so we didn't cover the public work ones, right? There's 3 more in FY23.
Oh, we're down to. That's where I started, I guess, in my mind.
Yeah, sorry. So there's the Parks and Rec.
So it's just the Parks and Rec master plan that I introed at the beginning. So Stephen, why don't you hit those three quickly for us?
Okay, yes, the Parks and, actually, Rick, I might need your help on the Parks and Rec master plan.
Yeah,
I've
let me-
got a blank right now.
Yeah, sure. Let me take that for you. So the Parks and Rec master plan has the sort of the first phase is actually $19 million. We had a placeholder in for FY23 for $5 million. But with the coastal resiliency plan and highlighting the issues at, in particular, Tom Nevers, town manager decided to move out the actual implementation of the plan by a year and then ask for money for studies to further consider the impact of the coastal resiliency plan on the Parks and Rec master plan. And so that's what the $500,000 is in FY23, and that's why the $5 million is now in FY24.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so our earlier plans did not take the coastal resiliency into consideration. And with that, we have to make some changes.
Okay, and then Stephen, the crack filling at the courts and at the Jetties Beach tennis courts and replace the chain link fence around the skate park, just straightforward stuff.
Just straightforward maintenance, yes.
Okay. And Rick, I guess the only question I have, if anyone else has a question, please, I'll take that. No, just on the skate park, Rick, is there a particular reason why that wouldn't be carried under school?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer, Stephen. I'll have to come back to you on that. This was added at the request of the town manager, and I don't know, Stephen Arsenault, maybe, I don't know. I'll have to come back to you.
Yeah, since I arrived, I've been told the skate park was under our ownership. As far as its construction, maintenance, and supervision for the physical structure itself. But I don't, so I'll get clarification.
Sounds like the new guy got that job on that one. Yeah. Rick, that's fine. It's not anything major. I was just curiosity.
Well, fortunately, we were employing someone who actually had something to do with the installation and development of it. So that was one of Dave LaFleur's projects.
Nice. Okay, good. Now I can say once again, Stephen, thank you for all your hard work and keeping at it. And it seems like at these meetings, I'm saying goodbye early. It's not a Freudian slip. And then you guys, we're going to move on to the rest of our agenda. And I think it's just going to be, unless there are any particular comments from our liaisons, would be a, Rory review. How could I forget that? Are any questions or comments from individuals on Rory's and completing them? I understand, there were some requests here that might need some clarification or a little bit more discussion. And if people have been satisfied, then we don't need to get into that.
Yes, but
I just wanted to know, Stephen, when they're due, like when they'll need to be completed.
Very soon. And I need to look at a calendar, and I was actually gonna bring up that in a little more detail when we get to date of next meeting.
Okay, so we don't have a date yet.
Yeah, well, we do, but I want to kind of stick to what's going on with Stephen here. If there's any questions on the Rory's, completing the substantive aspects of the Rory relative to the particular requests. Christy, Kickham, did you have a question? No, Richard?
Yeah, my question goes back to the airport's presentation and the housing issue. Do we know, I'm going to ask questions I should know the answer to, so forgive me. Do we know who the housing is intended for? Is it open to anyone on their employment list, or how's that going to work? And who picks who gets that housing?
Yeah. I believe it's more senior staff, and also first responders from other departments when there's availability. So let me just confirm that real quickly if I can find it.
Okay, well, you're looking for that. How exactly will this be funded?
Well, we haven't determined funding sources at this point in time, but either out of airport retained earnings or borrowing.
Okay. Will we know that soon? The relationship between earnings versus borrowing?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, we go through this every year, don't we? Which is the certification of free cash versus getting you guys the information for funding sources. And I don't think that contention is going to ease this year miraculously.
Yeah, if I may just jump, it tends, I think, on this particular question and in relation to all of them, it just historically tends to be a kind of a, this is what we're thinking based on our best case estimate and experience being town admin and finance. And in this instance, the airport with respect to funding. And then we accept that certainly at face value. And then we footnote to have further discussion if we think something needs to be different or we would hope that would be different, so that in our final recommendation, our recommendation reflects whether there was any difference in the Capcom's perspective or otherwise. Fair enough, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. Other questions on Rory's past, present, and then later we'll get to future? Christy Kickham?
Have there been any new ones, as of recent, or are we still working on the same old list?
The DPW fleet.
All
Oh,
this-
sorry, Rick, go ahead. You can.
No, you got it. You got it. You're right.
Yep. So those are loaded, without San's supplemental documentation
Got it.
at this point.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Stephen, I'm just going to say, I think because of some of these changes, I'm going to reach out to the developer and see if I can't get a list of what everybody's done. It's not a standard report we can pull. So let me just see where we can get to so we can figure out who's got what left over.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficulty, which I'll talk about when we talk future events with the Rorys. Okay, anything else on Rory? Anything from liaisons? Okay. We'll skip go to the order unless somebody has anything. Okay. So date of next meeting will be the 25th at 10 a.m. Typical tune into our Zoom channel. One of the things we're going to need to do.
Stephen?
Yeah.
That's
25th,
Thanksgiving.
the 25th is Thanksgiving. The second.
So one of the things we're going to be doing, that's okay. So I'm going to segue into my next comment, which is we're going to be, it looks like, given the fact that we've had a couple of meetings that had to be canceled due to quorum, we will be meeting on a Tuesday, the last week of, I presume a Tuesday, or maybe it'll be a Friday. We will be in touch, Rick and I, with respect to an additional meeting date, either the 30th of November or the 1st of December. And that will be when we will begin to discuss the group approach to the Rorys. I'm looking at calendar stuff. If the question that came up, thank you, Jill, about when they're due. They should be completed before Thanksgiving, so that if there's any questions on Wednesday, the 24th, that are substantive or material required for any individual to complete a Rory, that you will have an opportunity to reach out to Rick or myself and ask for the information. And Rick, I would like to coordinate the response from the developer such that we might have two in terms of what Rorys have been turned in. One as soon as possible, reasonably, and the second one for the day before the 24th, so that we can kind of clamp down on if people need to be turning them in. I know Jason and Christy Ferrantella have theirs completed. I don't actually know that, but they're not here, so I'm hoping that's the case. Christy Kickham? You're muted, Christy.
Yeah, I had mine wrapped up. I just didn't, that's why I wasn't sure if there was any additionals. So,
yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to discussing them.
Yeah. So in order to just, I just want to reiterate, please get your Rory's completed before the 24th, on or by the 24th. And I will be spending my meeting time on the 25th to begin to format those and have them prepped for a meeting on the 30th or the 1st, depending on people's availability. And I don't want to be up. The reason for that is obviously we've missed, Peter, I see you just a moment. We've missed a couple meetings. And as important, more importantly, we do have a deadline with the select board, and then we forward to FinCom. And I would like to, unless there's some exceptional circumstance, I would like us to meet our deadline, our self-set deadline. Okay, any comments, concerns, questions on just that scheduling approach? Peter?
Yeah, just personally, so I'll be away that week after Thanksgiving, so I won't be here the 30th or the 1st, just a heads up for your info.
Okay, so we'll, how about this? So the week of the 2nd, you'll be away? I mean, that whole week?
Yeah, the 29th to the 3rd.
Okay, so, you know, Wi-Fi at your hotel next to the hammock with the umbrella drink.
Yeah, no promises, but I'll see what I can do.
Okay, well, we appreciate it because we appreciate your input on these things.
Certainly,
It won't be our final review of the Rorys, but it will be important to get any substantive feedback from group members at that point. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. I think with that, the date of our next meeting to be determined, and with your indulgence, one last motion to adjourn.
So move.
Peter, on your motion.
Aye.
Richard? I see an aye. Christie Kickham
Aye.
and Jill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Holiday.
Thank you, Stephen.
Rick, is there a time or a day, maybe we can just touch base schedule wise, or can you?
Yeah.
I don't know your availability, so if you could throw together one of those 2 days